So this is like part three. Lastly, what I'm gonna culminate by saying is that, basically it's a situation that like, it's a lose-lose situation regardless because it, and no matter what you do, people are going to think what they want to think, as I said. It restricts sometimes your sense of what you feel you can do, even though it's the most mundane thing, because you feel that people are going to be accusatory towards you. And, again, it's also something that it's basically just continuing and continuing, and my kids are getting older. They are also observing the things that are happening around them. They've witnessed certain things, they've heard certain things, so they also are I cannot not explain to my kids what's going on, because they have to also be aware and know, like, hey, you see that person, don't get too chummy with them. You see that person, don't get too chummy with them, because you don't know who's who. It's made me also very distrustful as well, for the same reason, because you have people who you think, like, they're friendly with you, whatever, and you don't know what people will do when they get offered money in this day and age. I gave the example in the videos I did last year of a guy who I was talking to, who was the one who set me up last year so that this could all start again. You know what I mean? And what can I say? Yes, I will agree that maybe my choice of the guy who I was talking to, he worked in a school as a janitor, so I wasn't actually thinking that he would do something like that. That's the thing. That betrayal comes from people who you won't ever expect it to come from. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter at this point. I wouldn't say that, like, oh, it was my fault, because I was like talking to someone from that ethnic group who, you know what I mean? Because again, like, I don't like to racially profile people in that sense, because it could be anybody. But a lot of people might judge and say, like, hey, yeah, well, you shouldn't be talking to those people, they're all like that, whatever, like that. I try not to think like that. But it's just frustrating, because people who hear about it or are actually involved in the harassment, they just think it's funny, they think it's a joke. It makes, I guess, the people who are doing it feel, I guess, very powerful and manly, that they can intimidate, I guess, a single mom with kids. And like I said, and I don't hide behind being a single mom with kids. I'm not saying that in some situations, just because you're a single mom with kids doesn't mean that you can't be involved in doing bad things. But in my case, it's far from this situation. Like, I don't mingle with anybody now, and in the past, like I said, like, as in the past, obviously I had a rocky time because I was a single mom and I'm raising my kids by myself, but I would never ever put myself or my children in a situation where they would be in danger for something so stupid as that. Like, I believe in going to work and working. That's the value, or those are the values that I grew up with, and I don't have to resort to doing what these people do to make their money. I guess the whole point of me making this video, one, was out of frustration, because today, again, like, they're just things that happen on a daily basis. Like, today I had to wait for the bus, I had to take the keys to my daughter's school because she left them home, and like, I hear people when I'm at the bus stop making remarks, like, because I was waiting for the bus quite some time. I wasn't sure of the hour, and I hear them like making remarks, or like saying, like, oh, she's sitting there, like, you know what I mean? And things like this, it's just frustrating to have to feel this way, and I really don't want that to continue with my kids. And like I said, it's not a situation, it's like, oh, just move here to another neighborhood, or move, because it's slander. It's a slander that's been done on a very large scale, where a lot of people have heard of it, you know what I mean? And I don't know, it's just, I also maybe am making this video for like evidence, maybe, just in case in the future they actually do come through with their threats. But definitely, like I said, it's just sickening, and I just want it to kind of end. I don't know how. I don't know what has to happen for it to end, to come to a head, but it's revolting at this point. Basically, I just hope and pray to God that every single person who has been involved in contributing to this situation and slandering me and framing me gets what they deserve, especially all the neighbors in this apartment, in the other apartment, in the other apartment, whatever. All the people who have been involved, like I said, in participating, get their just desserts. And that's all I can say, because who am I? Only God can judge and repay people and take vengeance. Like I said, there's not much I can do in this situation except speak my truth and say what's going on, and that's my biggest strength. So just in case, people, like I said, believe what you want to believe, but I'm not going to, keep pretending like it's something that, is happening, and I know very well, like I said, that it's being done on purpose, and whoever's doing it is also strategically doing it by hacking into my information and all of this to be able to, I guess, frame me during certain periods of time where I'm making large purchases or going on vacation, things like this. I don't know, may they all burn in hell.